Hey, you know what time it is. It's Facebook Live time. I just wanted to hop on here real quick. I'm on this online conference, so if it starts up again, I'm going to hop on there. But I just wanted to just check in with you regarding something that's been coming up a lot recently for me, which is where is your mindset at right now? In this moment, where is your mind at? Is it in scarcity mode, right? Scarcity is the virus that chases us all in one way or the other. It consumes us sometimes to the point where we allow it to win, right? And I'm at my stand-up desk right now, and it feels pretty good actually. But where is your mindset? What are you doing right now to win the game in your mind? And for me, what was coming up this morning is that I'm feeling in a little bit of the scarcity mindset, trying to kind of come out of this last month in regards to some of the things that I've been going through personally. And someday I might share that on here. However, it's like one of those things that I'm just like trying to kind of pull myself out of it, right? And it's been a task. It's been a really large task to do that. And so my mind continues to think like lack and less than and what if that doesn't happen, or maybe this will never happen, and all of the things that kind of come up and really screw with your mind over and over again, right? And it's tough because you start going into this pit and it goes down deeper and deeper. And really the only way to get out of it is what we in Warrior is we talk about kicking the door open. So you're in this loop. The only way to kind of get out of it is you just got to kick the door open and open up the possibility of getting out of that loop that's trying to take you down further into more scarcity. And we say scarcity is the virus because it chases us all. Is once it gets in here and it's entrenched, it's hard to get out of there. And it's tough. It's actually really difficult, but definitely doable. Excuse me. And that's kind of why I just want to do a check-in, because sometimes you don't even realize that you're going down that path. And that path is usually not productive, which is also okay, right? Sometimes I think we judge what is happening in our lives, like, is this good or is it bad? What if it's neither? Or what if it's both? What if it's just you assigning a value to what you are experiencing in the moment? And it might be legitimate, it might not be. And the thing that you are experiencing is in your mind, right? So that's one of the things I learned from my good friend Jeremy is you are standing here and you're experiencing something in your mind, right? The person right next to you is standing there. They're not experiencing the same thing in their mind. And so it's really what's happening in here for you. And that experience is definitely, the experience is tinted to the color of what you're seeing based on what's going on in here. And right now it's kicking the door open so you can get out of scarcity into the mindset that like, hey, everything's going to be okay. It's going to be fine. Yes, there is some pain. Yes, I've created my own suffering, right? That's one of the things that I've been really trying to get across to the people in my life that I affect, with people that work with me or near me and people that are around my sphere of influence and communication, that look, pain is always going to happen. It's always going to happen. And the pain could be a loss event, right? If it's death or divorce or whatever else it might be, the loss will occur, and that is the pain, right? And then it's what happens after that. It's the suffering. And the suffering is what we create in our mind. Suffering only can happen if we are creating that. And what that means is we're creating stories around the attachment of what the pain was. Like, this occurred and oh, woe is me, and all of these things and the stories that I'm making up are the reason that I'm creating my own suffering. And so just remember that in this conversation and future conversations, that we really are the captain of our soul and the master of our fate, because we are creating the reality that we are experiencing on a daily basis. And that reality can be, I'm still struggling with this thing because I continue to struggle in here, versus it just being an event that then I can move on from. And going back to the person standing right next to you, they're not suffering, or they might not be suffering. They might be, But they're not suffering in the same way that you are, because you are the one that's creating the reality of the situation in your mind that is extending the suffering. Some people you'll see get over grief and loss much quicker because they have the ability and maybe the skill set to say, you know what, that occurred. It sucks. It's a terrible thing that happened. I wish it didn't happen. However, instead of punishing myself by creating all these stories that may or may not be true, P.S., usually they're not true at all, but we believe them to be true. So we create an extended amount of suffering. Maybe it's a few weeks, maybe it's months, maybe it's years. I was speaking with a lady this morning that had basically come to the realization that something that happened in her life 4 years ago is something that she's still working through right now. And for me, I ain't got time for that, right? So I consciously attempt to work through the pain as quickly as I possibly can to decrease the amount of suffering. And I think it's just natural that we tend to do that because we're humans and we create stories in our minds, trying to create meaning and attach things to what may be the event that occurred. And it's like, how much further do I want this pain to last? How much longer do I want this pain to last? Do I want to continue down this path, right? So we learned today in one of my trainings, the STOP method, which I'm not going to get too deep into, but one of the things is, as you're experiencing the suffering, you really just say, hey, hold on, whoa, is this really the path that I want to go down in this moment right now? Is this the path that I want to continue to go down and create the suffering? Is it? And if it is, fine, continue on the path. But really what it's trying to do is say, hey, stop for a minute, really determine, is this the way that you want to go? Is this the true path that you want to take to lead down that path to the suffering that you know is at the end of the path? Or you can say, stop now, stop here, let's course correct a little bit and go in a different direction to create a new meaning, create a new outcome, so your brain doesn't take the same neural pathway every single time to the destination of suffering. And so the STOP method is actually really amazing. And the teacher of the course basically made us think about in the Matrix when Neo used to be like dodging all the bullets and he was like, working through it. And then he realized that he is the chosen one. And all he had to do was do this. And the bullets stopped because they weren't real and they fell to the ground. And so that's part of the STOP method, is like, stop the craziness that's happening in your own life, because usually those bullets are created in here. They're not real, and you can simply stop what's happening. And it takes a lot of practice, and it's simple, but not easy. And trust me, I've been going through it for the last month or so, and it is not easy, but it is worth it. Doing the work to get to the point where you can increase your skill set and mindset to the place where you can do the STOP method, right? Neo in the Matrix, just stop and move from there. But I want to get back to the scarcity part, right? Because in our mindsets, as we increase the suffering from the painful event, right? The pain is just one event, and then the suffering is what we create and continue to create longer and longer and longer down the line. The question is, are you willing to give up that story? Are you willing to stop that story to create what you actually want in your life? Or do you want to continue with that story and continue with the suffering? It is up to you. But I can tell you, when you want to move from scarcity to abundance, those stories have to stop and you have to move on. And so I ask you this: where in your life is something continuing to keep a hold of you because you're creating the suffering in your mind instead of just allowing the pain to occur? Step back, release the stories, and move on with your life. And I am basically looking in a mirror, talking to myself with everything that I just told you guys. So I hope this is helpful. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you're having a great day. I'll talk to you soon.